Well, public service is important to me because I grew up in that environment. I had an uncle who was a district court judge in El Paso County for nearly 40 years, and I knew nothing but public service. And for me, public service is incredibly important because I have 3 children, and civic engagement comes first nature to all of us. And I believe that without public service, we can't be fruitful members of society. And I am incredibly honored to have my role as a public servant. Let's see, you have asked me what challenges I have faced as a female in government. And I do have to be honest here, as a female judge, I haven't necessarily experienced any setbacks as a female in government. However, as a role as a female lawyer, I did experience certain setbacks or challenges, if you consider them challenges, and especially growing up on at the border of Texas. I'm Hispanic, obviously, and I was raised to respect my elders and not talk back or not assert my authority in certain situations. And so when I became a female lawyer, that was the biggest challenge. As a young female lawyer in a room full of experienced male litigators, it was sometimes intimidating asserting my authority. However, once I set foot in a courtroom or in a conference room where deposing a witness, it quickly became apparent to them that I was fully knowledgeable and capable of fulfilling my duties as a litigator. Well, I think that it's important to know our history as women. I think it's important to embrace our differences and also our similarities. Absolutely, there is gender inequality. And although I am a mother of 2 young women, I am also a mother of a young son. The girls are ages 13 and 10, and our son is age 3. And I think the inequality that both men and women sometimes experience within our community is absolutely disappointing. However, I don't think it's necessarily something that we need to set ourselves apart from. I think that we should all embrace each other for who we are, where we come from. And I think the main role I can play as a female elected official is to share my personal story with young women. For instance, what I do tell them, especially young female law students, is they feel empowered because perhaps there are 60% of young females in law school now and 40% males. And however, when they get out to the real world in the workforce and become part of that workforce, those percentages drop significantly. And so I do try to make them aware of those realities simply because you can't bury your head in the sand and you have to be fully aware of where you are going. But before you embrace where you're going, you have to fully embrace who you are. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. And I believe that those inequalities start to decrease significantly once you do become comfortable in your own skin. I do think it's important if young women do want to empower one another. I think it's so incredibly important that you have to empower yourself prior to doing so. And I say that because we all come from different walks of life. We all have different experiences. We all are raised in different surroundings, different locations in Texas, by different parents with different morals and values. And so I think that when you embrace yourself first and empower yourself, but always do it with grace and humility, I think that you are able to empower other young females around you. And one thing I think that just sitting here looking at you, you're a vibrant young woman in high school, I think that taking this leap and becoming self-aware and independent in thought, for instance, I think that once you embrace your true self, then that's when you empower others, because you are fully capable of doing so, and you're comfortable in your own skin and embrace your own strengths and challenges. And when I say challenges, not necessarily as weaknesses, because I think that when we embrace our challenges or our obstacles, for instance, I think that's how we can fully succeed, when we do recognize our full selves, our whole selves. And then once we empower our true self with grace and humility, of course, then we're able to empower young girls around us as well. Gosh, what do I want the future to look like for girls interested in government? Well, I do say this respectfully to my male colleagues. I do think that when women are at the table, a lot more gets accomplished. And I say that simply because women are proven to be better multitaskers. We are, yes, we are passionate and sometimes emotional. However, we're able to get things done at the end of the day because we maintain focus and we are great multitaskers. Women in government sometimes have to become somewhat bulldogish, if you will. And sometimes we lose our own identities. And I do think that, but I do want to make this perfectly clear, is that a judicial career is separate and apart from a political career. And so when I say women in government, it's speaking in broad terms, of course. But women in politics on the state legislative level, or the federal government level, congresswomen and state legislators who happen to be women, they sometimes have to assert themselves much differently than a female judge does, and they are running in different circles than female judges do. And so perhaps their approach is sometimes having to assert themselves with great authority because it's somewhat a necessity to get their missions accomplished. And so I think that so long as we as women, we don't lose our self-identity and we fully embrace our feminism, I think that we are able to accomplish anything we set our minds to. Yes, I am the youngest Hispanic female appellate judge in the state of Texas currently, and I wear that badge with incredible pride and honor, and I'm living my childhood dream. So it is sometimes, I pause and think of how truly blessed I am. Every day is a gift, and as I walk in through these courthouse doors every morning, my heart still skips a beat after 5 years of service on the bench. Now, I embrace my culture. I embrace that I am a Hispanic female who grew up on the border, born to a Mexican immigrant mother. And that is absolutely part of my identity. However, I don't sometimes wear that on my sleeve necessarily, because I think that when we work, when people work hard to separate themselves, single themselves out, I think that we lose part of our inclusivity as a community. And I think that if we continue to do that, I think that we don't break down those barriers of racism or stereotypes or generalities that sometimes might negatively affect our younger generations. So I embrace my culture. I love being Hispanic. I am fluent in Spanish, and so are my children. And I do think that the face of Texas is one of, it has a diverse face, absolutely. There are 7 judges on the 4th Court of Appeals, and we represent 32 counties. And our district is one of the most diverse appellate districts in the state of Texas, and it's bigger than most states across the nation. And we represent the Hill Country and also Starr County along the border. And so when I look at the district I represent, I am incredibly honored to do so simply because of its diversity, not only in its people, but also in its terrain, its beauty, and people from all walks of life. So I do think that we do have to continue to embrace everyone from all walks of life and all ethnicities. Otherwise, we lose our inclusivity.